All right, let's jump right in. We all know technology is a huge deal in the built environment, right? But here's the thing. The real challenge isn't just about buying the shiniest new drone or the latest software. No, it's about how you weave that tech into the very DNA of your projects, making it a real, lasting advantage. And that's exactly what this explainer is all about, giving you the blueprint to do it right.
And this quote, it absolutely nails the central problem. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement, the promise of better safety, higher quality, more productivity. But if you don't have a solid strategy, all those ongoing costs, training, support, upgrades, they can just wipe out any of the benefits you were hoping for. It's a classic, high-risk, high-reward situation.
And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's what every project manager and company leader is trying to figure out. How do you make sure your tech is an asset that lifts you up, not an anchor that drags you down? Well, you're in the right place, because that is precisely what we're about to break down.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the high stakes involved. Then we're going to get really clear on two words that are often confused: implementation and adoption. After that, we'll walk through a practical 8-step blueprint for success. Then we'll see how you can use all this to actually win more bids. And finally, we'll talk about how to make tech a core part of your plan from the very start.
Okay, first up, the promise and the peril. The pull of brand new tech is strong, but the real cost, well, that goes way beyond what you pay on day one.
So here's the bottom line. If you think you can just buy innovation off the shelf, you're setting yourself up for failure. It just doesn't work that way. The companies that really crush it are the ones who plan for the entire life cycle of the technology. We're talking from the initial idea all the way to long-term support. It's all about strategy, not just a shopping trip.
This brings us to a really, really important point, one that gets missed all the time, and that's the difference between implementation and adoption. Trust me, they are not the same thing, and you absolutely need both to succeed.
This slide lays it out perfectly. Think of implementation as the how, the technical stuff. It's the rollout, the testing, the training, just giving people access to the new tool. It's all about getting the technology ready. But then there's adoption. That's the human element. It's the buy-in. It's about making sure your team actually embraces it and uses it effectively. Because you can have the most flawless implementation in the world, but if nobody adopts it, well, you've just bought some very expensive dust collectors for the shelf.
All right, so how do we make sure that doesn't happen? How do we get both parts right? Let's get practical. Here is the blueprint, a super clear 8-step roadmap that'll guide you all the way from an idea to a win. So these first 3 steps, they're your foundation. Seriously, without leadership buy-in, you're pretty much sunk from the start. Your leaders have to be out front championing this thing. Next, you got to pull together a team from all different parts of the business, everyone who's going to be affected. Their input is gold. And finally, you have to know what you're aiming for. Define what success actually looks like with clear goals and, you guessed it, KPIs.
And this is a great example of what those KPIs might look like. See, they're not just fuzzy hopes, they're actual, measurable targets. Before you even launch, you could track how many people sign up for a pilot program. That tells you something about early interest. And then after launch, you're tracking the real-world stuff. Are on-site accidents down? Is productivity up? This data is how you know if your big investment is actually paying off.
Moving on to the next 3 steps, which are all about the prep work. Your roadmap needs to have clear milestones. It's what keeps everybody moving in the same direction. Then there's the communication plan. This is so vital for building trust and heading off any resistance. You have to keep people in the loop. And of course, you have to test. Running pilot programs with a small group of users is your final sanity check. It helps you iron out the kinks before you go big.
And now for the final 2 steps that bring it all home. Step 7, training. This is non-negotiable. If you're changing how people work, you have to train them. And a safe space where they can ask questions without pressure. And finally, step 8. Remember that go-live day is not the finish line. It's the starting line. You must have support systems ready to go, help desks, manuals, you name it, to make sure things go smoothly long after launch.
Okay, so you've done all the hard work. You've built an amazing internal strategy. So what's next? Well, now you weaponize it. You turn that internal process into a powerful external advantage that helps you win more work.
And this is the big idea right here. I want this to stick with you. Your smart approach to technology is your value proposition. It's not just some little feature you list on a brochure. In a crowded market, it's the core reason a client should pick you over everybody else. It screams innovation, efficiency, and forward thinking.
So how do you actually do that when you're writing a bid? You focus on the value for the client. Don't just give them a laundry list of software. Tell them how it makes things cheaper, faster, safer, or better. Use concrete examples, like we use RFID tags, and it's reduced safety incidents by X%. Back it up with real data from past projects, and frame the whole thing as a way you reduce their risk, because that is exactly what a good tech strategy does.
All right, this brings us to our final section. And honestly, it might be the most important one. For any of this to work, technology can't be an add-on you sprinkle in at the end. No, it has to be baked into your project's DNA from the very beginning. And the main way you do that is through something called the Project Execution Plan, or PEP. Now, for anyone who's not familiar, the PEP is basically the Bible for a project. It's the master document that lays out the entire game plan, who's doing what materials you're using, everything. The rule is simple. If it ain't in the PEP, it's not really part of the plan.
And that's why your tech strategy needs to be detailed right there, inside the PEP. And I mean detailed. Spell out what tech you're going to use, the processes that support it, all the critical stuff like data protection. You've also got to figure out if all your different software programs are going to play nice together, and do that early to avoid a huge mess later. And always remember, the PEP isn't set in stone. It's a living document that should grow and change as the project does.
So let me just leave you with this one question to think about. After everything we've talked about today, from strategy and adoption to actually winning bids, think about that next project on your horizon. Are you going to treat technology like just another line item, an afterthought to deal with later? Or are you going to use this blueprint to make it the absolute foundation for your success? The choice, as they say, is yours.